right, so let's get started, everybody. We got 30 minutes to show you 2 hours worth of stuff. No, that's not quite it, but it could take longer. I'm going to keep it down to 30 minutes because you just want to see what's new and what is all the talk about when we come to Windows 10. So welcome to the session. Welcome to Train Canada's free webinar series. My name's Howard Forder, and I'm happy to and honored to be able to present this for you. There's a screen you can look at later when you look at the playback. This will be recorded, and you'll be able to look at it later. And you can just take a look and see, and send me some emails and stuff like that, and just ask me questions as we move along. I teach IT training courses for SharePoint and Exchange and all the Windows versions, everything in between. So having a lot of fun with that. So let's go look at Windows 10. I've been playing with this now for, 7, 8 months now. We've been messing around with all the different versions, and finally it's out in the public domain. What's it all about? So I'm going to start out by looking at these 5 areas. Major announcements are really important. What is the big draw? Secondly, universal windows and apps. Now, I'm going to weave that into the presentation all the way through, just because we'll be seeing some screens where we're actually seeing what is a universal window, or universal windows and apps. What are those? And what's the big deal with that? And really, this session is for a lot of you who are curious. It isn't just an IT session. It's really for those end users, those curious because they keep getting that little upgrade now screen. And, what is that all about? And we want to just find out, what could you do? Could you get Windows 10 on your desktop now, today? And the answer is yes. When we first started doing these sessions, we were saying it's coming. And sooner or later, you'll see a notification. And sooner or later, you'll have to reserve. But now you can have it happen even after the session. So, that's a pretty cool thing too. But why not let someone else test drive it for you? Why not let someone else who has looked at it give you the real look at it? In other words, we're not going to sugarcoat it. We're just going to show you what it is and see why so many people have been upgrading already. So part of that includes live demo of features along the way. I'll try not to get too distracted by Cortana. If some of you have heard what Cortana is, then I'm going to try to have some fun with it without staying there too long. And then I'm going to throw a small section in there about server products and IoT, Internet of Things. And I want to mention that because many questions come out of this session where people say, what about the server version? Because usually the workstation and the server are released at the same time. Not the case with Windows 10. So we want to see what that is. And certainly at the end of the session, at the end of 30 minutes, I'll sit around and wait for some chat screens, or if you've got voice, you can certainly ask your questions, and I'll answer them the best I can. In this short overview, we certainly can't go too deep, all right? It's only 30 minutes. And for that, you'd probably want to sit one of the bigger courses or a 5-day Windows 10 support course or something like that. So let's start with the first major announcement. It was released July 29th. 2 months ago, I guess, if you look at the timeline now. And in the first 24 hours, they had 14 million upgrades. So that means people clicked on and reserved, and when it was released, 14 million people actually went to Windows 10. Now, some of those 14 million, we were already working with Windows 10, and we were working in the pre-final versions. In other words, we were close to final. We saw it evolve into a good product and mature, and we just simply flipped the switch to the final version. Okay, and that's really what that part of that was, that 14 million. That's a lot of people. Let's look at the numbers now. How does it fare 4 weeks later? How does it fare 8 weeks later? And we'll take a look at that. But on this screen, you can see if you're running Windows 7 or above, in other words, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, you'll see this new window icon on your taskbar. I've expanded it so you can see what that looks like right here. And that new Get Windows 10 icon scares some people. And they tell me, Howard, should I do something with that? I'm afraid if I click it, it'll just put 10 on my machine. And it won't. It will just come up with this screen that says, here's how the upgrade works. Now, there's been variants of this screen, but the whole idea is that you can reserve your free upgrade. That's all the screen is there for, and to give you more information. Reserve it, install it, enjoy it, right? And then we're going to take a look at some of that stuff that you can enjoy with. But you can read more screens, and there's a link to go to Microsoft.com. There's a whole Windows 10 section there. You can learn more about what you can do. And some people say, yeah, what you told me in 30 minutes, I could have seen in a YouTube video. Yep, it's true. So, but here you get to ask some questions. I am a support trainer, so I get to teach this stuff on how to make it work and keep it working and solve problems and all that. But in this session, hey, let's just have a look at it. So don't forget, you've got this little window. Click it. reserve your copy. It will notify you when your copy is ready to go. Alternatively, if you need it right away and you can't wait for the here's your notice that you've got your copy, you can download it from Microsoft's website and use it as an upgrade DVD or ISO for those who care about that. All right, and you can get it right away. For most of us, it gave us the information right away. Now, I've modified the slide deck a bit from the questions from a few sessions before, because I was showing this before it was even released. And so one of the questions was, should I upgrade just because it's free? I mean, it's free. And so the point there is that, and the point that a lot of people are missing is that this means it's free forever. It doesn't mean that after 12 months you're going to start paying for it. It means it's free. It's a window of opportunity for those who already own 7, 8, and 8.1. That's what it's for. All right. And we get it, and now we have it forever. All right. We have it with a proper license key from our previous version. So it is free, and it's not going to surprise us down the road with some kind of cost there. So one of the things I want to mention and summarize here is Windows 10 will start faster, does use less memory, and is being taught new tricks. And I just added this last part because compressing memory on the fly was one of the updates that Windows 8 will never learn. You know, like some of the things we bring out in 10, we better add that as a service pack in 8 just to make the 8 users happy. They're not doing that. There's like, it's in 10, it's beautiful in 10. We're not going to try to make that work in 8. We're not going to try to make that work in 7. So those are some of the things. To start faster is important because you look at tablets today, 17 seconds or less. There's the competition. We got to make that work on a tablet in 17 seconds or less. So they're going to use less memory, start faster, make all that happen. Next, the user preferences. They sync really nicely between machines. This they learned from other ecosystems, from Apple products and Android products and other things that are out there. Microsoft realized we don't have just one machine. We have companion machines, as I like to call them, companion devices. We have tablets, we have phones, we have other things. And Windows 10 will work on all those things. Why not synchronize some of those things? I buy an app here, I want to use it there. I have data saved here, I want to see it there, you know, and that sort of thing. And you see advertisements like that too for Apple products and other things that do that all the way. So I love that part of it also. And the new start menu is a combination. And I've used this expression. This is my quote. A combination of the best of Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows Phone. And some of you are surprised to hear that. But, you know, I've been using a Windows Phone for a long time also. And so I wanted to talk about why they brought that into Windows 10. And that's part of what I'm going to show you here. But here's a caveat that I want to mention. If you need Windows Media Center, stay with your Windows 8. Okay? And that's really the key. Stay with Windows 8. And so what I'm saying that for is because Media Center is not included in Windows 10. It's been removed from Windows 10. And the reason for that is, and I'm guessing because they don't give you all the real reasons, but typically what that happens here is people aren't using it, or they have their one dedicated Media Center with Windows 7 on it. They never did move it to 8. Right, so that's the example that I'm giving you here. Is that they'll take a product out of there because it isn't really needed. All right, and everybody I've talked to have said that's not an issue, and so I have to agree that in this case it's not an issue. With the one Windows 7 Media Center I have is still a Media Center, and it's not going to upgrade. All the rest of my machines are up to 10. All right, so that's the example there. And I wanted to make sure that you heard that. Now, I'd like to give you another example here of a person at Microsoft who said since its release 4 weeks ago, 75. Now, he mentioned this when it was 4 weeks in. So the end of July, first week of August, 75 million devices are now running new Windows 10 operating system. 75 million. Wow. You know, and it's like, even today I tried to get the latest stat for here in this session for those who are listening to this later and it's recorded. This is happening somewhere around the end of September, you know, like the 30th or something. And so, you know, we've got a bigger number than that now. I can't put my finger on that yet, but 4 weeks in, 75 million devices. Is that enough to make you say, well, if 75 million people moved forward, then we must be okay? And keep in mind, they had the option to move back. Anyone who moves to 10 can go in and say, no, roll me back, please. And you could just go in and click roll me back, and it'll take you back to 7 or to 8. All right, so keep that in mind, and 75 million moved forward and didn't go back. Now, I know one person who took one of their machines and moved it back to 7 because there was some application they had trouble with. All right, so I do know one. Anyway, out of out of that many people. So Windows 10 was downloaded in 192 countries. This is the kind of stuff people wanted to hear, right? Like, is this available everywhere? Now, I will mention Cortana doesn't work in all the countries. Right? Cortana is the speaking interactive part of Windows 10, which I'll show you in a second. But that's not available in all countries yet. But they're working on that. And more than 122 years of gameplay has been streamed from the company's video game console, Xbox One. And it's like, are you kidding me? 122 years of gameplay? Who gets to do that, right? I want to test that for them. All right, and then the third one that I mentioned here is Cortana has told 500,000 jokes. This is the built-in interactive Cortana that was on the phone, and now it's on Windows 10. It has told 500,000 jokes since then. It's like people really do use that. All right, and this is from Yusuf, who's the corporate VP of marketing in Microsoft. So, we want to see how that, how does that work? And just to give you an example of that, are you ready for it? Let's just try something here. Hey, Cortana, tell me a joke.
An infectious disease walks into a bar. The bartender says, "We don't serve your kind here." The disease replies, "Well, you're not a very good host."
Is anybody laughing? So that's just to give you an idea of jokes that Cortana tells. There's your first example of Cortana. I just thought, I have no control of that, you guys. I have no idea what joke she's going to tell. So that's the sort of thing you can do when you're bored, when you're at the airport, when you're waiting in line somewhere. You can just talk to Cortana. So, and there's all kinds of jokes that can come out of that. Let's look at the next major announcement. Let's take a look at this. Windows 10 will be able to run on everything. Can you imagine making a bold statement like that? The CEO of Microsoft says, oh, yeah, it'll be able to run on everything. And all the reporters are clicking away and writing down stuff, and it's like, wow. And what we're seeing in here in this screen is a snapshot or something from that media event. That was back in November, the Build conference. And then in January, we heard some more of the major announcements as it came through. But here we see this kind of screen here. Over here on the far right, we see an Xbox One machine with Windows 10 on it. Here in the middle, a conventional PC. Here we see a Surface tablet. Here we see a Dell tablet. Here we see some other tablet. Here we see every size of phone you can think of, and even this circuit board over here on the left, which happens to be a Raspberry Pi. All of those can run Windows 10. Wow. And then they also have this called the Surface Hub. This is an 82-inch interactive screen that's in the boardroom or wherever you need it in the classroom. And they have one product family, one platform, one store. And the whole idea is you buy it here, there's our app, and your app shows up here. I mean, this is a cool thing. They didn't invent this ecosystem from scratch. They looked at the competitors, as all of us know, and they say, wow, you buy an app from the Apple Store, and it works on your phone, and it works on your iPad. Hey, we should do that too. And so obviously, that system worked. You could see it working in the field, and you could see people asking for the same thing here. And they've moved forward with that. So that's one really good thing. And to top that off, they use something called Universal Apps to make that happen, the Universal Windows Platform. They started this in 8.1. It targeted both Windows and Windows Phone from the same shared code base. Developers love it. You build it once, and it works on all those devices. And that's what you're seeing here. No matter what the input, it will adjust. Natural user inputs, adaptive user interface, one store, one development code base for all of that, from PCs to all the other devices that we use. And honestly, it's true. Even in the course I'm teaching this week, we're going to be talking about the BYOD movement and how devices have to join without joining your domain. And how do we do that with Microsoft technologies? People are bringing in their devices, and they expect them to work now. All right, and I had to show that graphic. There's a Windows Phone if you've never seen one. Some of you have never seen one, and it can run Windows 10 the same as your PC. All right, let's go to the next major announcement. I've only got so much time. The clock is ticking, and I want to make sure that, you've shared your lunch hour with me in this live session, and some of you are looking at this later in the recorded session, and I want to make sure that we use your time wisely. Here we see something called the Edge browser. This is the new IE. All right, that's what we got here. It's the new Internet Explorer. And some of you laugh about, oh yeah, IE. I use Firefox, I use Chrome, I use all the browsers in all my different devices. But they had to address this. IE was always like a million add-ons, and now it's dragging, and what a dog, and we hear all this stuff on it. So they've made it leaner, they made it faster, they made it more useful. But still today, and I'll tell you, this is eight weeks in, still today, there has been an application I've seen already that didn't work in Windows 10, in the Windows 10 browser. But what's cool about that is they do have the option to open it in IE. So right from this new browser, which is called the Edge, you can actually go to the menu and say, open in Internet Explorer. Or you can copy and paste and take it to another browser. But, that at least they give us an out. They give us a solution instead of saying, whoops, doesn't work, too bad, so sad. All right, so now this is what we can do with this. We can write in our browser. We can save it for later reading, and there's something called reader mode. And we can send it to our friends using the share button. And we can even have Cortana. And this is by default once Cortana is turned on. Cortana can use it to find information of things she doesn't know. Just like us as trainers, we don't know something, we go find the information. We don't know everything. All right, so Cortana does the same thing. I ask her a question. She goes, thinking about it. And next thing you know, up comes a website with whatever I just asked. That's beautiful. I like that. If she didn't know, how could she possibly know everything? And so she sends me to a website. So she'll use the Edge browser to do that. I like the Open in Internet Explorer option, and we just click this icon and away we go. Let's see that one in action too. So now, this is the first time you're seeing a Windows 10 machine. I'm broadcasting from a Windows 10 machine here. And you can see on this menu, the main thing I was here for is to show you the browser. But while we're here, you can see some things that crept into this product from other vendors. So take a look at this. Under the File Explorer, you see a blue bar. Underneath Firefox, yep, I'm using that also, you see a blue bar. Under IE, now there's IE because the Cisco WebEx installation program had to work under IE, not under the Edge. The perfect example there. And you see some other things here. Here's the new music section, and here's a PowerPoint that I'm running right now. So you notice that along here we also have the Ask Me Anything. This taskbar that's so wide right now can be reduced to just the little circle. All right, but that's your typical type into my start screen anything you can think of. For instance, I type in Notepad, and it comes up with, there's the desktop app. Just like Windows 8, just like Windows 7, Start Run or Start Search, that same thing's still there. While I'm on the screen, and this is that 30-minute condensed session, while I'm on this screen, I also want to show you, here's our Universal Apps icons. Now, here I am on a search screen. It's giving me some search results. It's going to the most common one at the top, and I can just click it and get to my Notepad, just like in Windows 8 and previous, but the look and feel is different. This little icon at the top is now affectionately known as the hamburger icon. Do you believe that? The hamburger icon. Everybody's calling it that. Oh, just click on the hamburger icon and go from there. And this, as you can tell by the 3 layers there, there's something in the middle with 2 sides. Okay. And then you can see some of the other things that are here. All right. Now, this is the Universal Apps look and feel. All right. More and more will look like this. So you're going to see that. So in this case, I would just click on it and open Notepad, and I'm good. All right. And it's the same Notepad that was there before. But let's say I'm looking for a control panel. I could do Start. And hey, I got a menu. There's the first thing Windows 8 people say is, thank you, you gave me back my menu. And then you notice that it also gives us the Windows 8 apps, or now they're Universal Apps since Windows 8.1. And those are live tiles if no one's ever seen a Windows 8 box. These are live tiles. I can scroll them with my wheel, and my up and down mouse wheel actually goes up and down. Am I being critical here? In Windows 8, we would scroll up and down, and your start menu would go left and right, and it would really mess people's heads up, So now they've got it right. And these are all just things that were on my machine or I've added to my machine. And you notice that if it's something that wasn't a normal Windows 8 app, it shows up like this. If it is a Windows 8 app, it shows up like this. So, this is pretty cool stuff. Over here, the most used. Down below, it's common things we need to do. You can adjust this whole screen. Now, when I said that Windows Phone is also in here, what does that mean? Well, if you go to the All Apps area right here, you'll notice that we have 0 to 9, A to Z, all right? And you notice in here, when we look at this kind of screen, I can find something by alphabetical. This was on our Windows Phone. And on there, we could just swipe right and see a whole index of stuff, exactly what you're seeing here. It looks exactly the same as a Windows Phone. So, they've taken what people like about different products. Cortana came from Windows Phone. So they took stuff from each product and said, all our feedback tells us, let's put all this into one. And one of the things they said was, we need our Windows 8 apps, we need our Windows 7 screen, and we still need that search. And by the way, can you put that Cortana thing in Windows 10? And so that's what they did. All right, so we're getting a feel for that. Across the bottom are the icons I'm using, and the blue bar tells us what's currently open. And you notice there's a little store icon where you can pick up more apps. And lots of them are free also, just like you see on other stores. There's another thing I'm going to show you here. I'll come back to this in a second because it's just a Windows key away, and that's this task view, which shows multiple virtual desktops. So that'll be the next thing that we're going to talk about, is that multiple desktops. Now, in here, moving between desktops, we've done this with other products. I can remember working with, way back in the day, we were working with Macs where you could just use your fingers to swipe your desktop left and right. And I can do that here also. I do have a touch screen. I can swipe to another screen. There's a whole different screen. There's another whole different screen. What a busy desktop you have there, Howard. And, this desktop is from 7 to 8 to 8.1 to 10, and all through those years of doing things. So look at that stuff. It's just there. I haven't ever bothered to clean it up. Here's another screen where I've got some browser windows open, and here's another screen where I've got my presentation open. Now, what I did there was I did the control. I'll just show you right here. I did the control Windows left and right key. All right, I did it very fast that way. All right, instead of clicking on the icon and then clicking on the next screen, and you can do it visually. But the whole point is that, and here's a visual example here. The whole point is I could just use the Windows key and control, and then either open new ones, close some, or whatever. Okay, so this is a really nice feature. I really like it. And I'll just come back to that previous screen for a second. This was asked by over 63% of requests were in regards to making it easier to move your windows through these different desktops. All right, so they've been working on this really hard to do that. And what I want to show you with that feature, as I mentioned, I'll go show you live now. Here's the icon down here in the far left. It's right beside your search, and it comes up to a screen that looks like this. Not bad, except that's a lot of stuff on one screen. You notice there's my 3 desktops that I just showed you. They're right here. And I can go to any one of them now, all right, just by clicking. All right, you see that? I want to go to this one. So, that's the slower way to do it. But, we could just do Control, Windows, left or right. All right. Now, let's say that I open up this one and I say, that's too much stuff in there. I actually want to put this one. I want to put this Skype one over in that unused desktop. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab this Skype one right here, and I'm going to drag it over to desktop 3. Boom. And I'm going to open up desktop 3, and it's running there in the background. Do you see it? It's still minimized the way it was on the first screen, but it's there now. If I go back to my original screen, there's no Skype there. Do you see? It's on another desktop. All right, and so that's pretty cool stuff. I like that. That is a really nice feature. And here's another app that I might want to move around. This one is a view, a 3D map that's built into Windows 10 that's showing us the building that CTC Train Canada is in right here. Is that ever cool? You can zoom in and out and do all kinds of cool stuff with that. So, that's not far behind City Hall in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And so you might want to go check out that. That's a nice app. I really like it. All right, so let's go back to, some of the stuff I show you. That multiple desktop thing, I could stay in there for half an hour. Everything I show you here, I could stay in for half an hour, but I'm not going to. All right, so let's go look at another feature. Let's go talk to Cortana. All right, we got a bit of an idea. I've laid some of the groundwork to make this easier, faster, so we don't dwell too long on it. It's the Ask Me Anything area. We can reduce that. If we go into settings, we can reduce that to just a circle, so we know that that's Cortana. It's a type screen and an ask screen if you want to turn it on. To turn it on, you have to go into the settings for Cortana and then say, turn on Cortana, and then it'll respond to you when you say, hey, Cortana. So I'll just do one more test with it and say, hey, Cortana, are you a boy or a girl? Oh, everybody asked that question, right?
A circle may be infinite, but my answers are not.
See, she hasn't got a clue. All right, but a lot of times she'll tell you something else, but I continued talking and I shouldn't have. Hey, Cortana, who's your daddy? Some of you are laughing already.
Speaking, that'd be Bill Gates. No big deal.
Do you believe that? I mean, I wouldn't even normally ask that question of anybody else. Hey, Cortana, sing me a song.
Here's one I know. Should old acquaintance be forgot?
Not bad. You guys can do the same thing. We're not going to wait for the whole thing. But, you get the idea behind it. Like, she actually sings with vibrato in her voice. She actually sings with a pleasing sounding voice. It's amazing that they can pull that kind of technology off. I'm actually amazed with that. So, what's the weather like, and put a city in there. play my music, open Notepad. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do, and of course the fun stuff too. Ask it questions that you wouldn't even normally ask other people. So those are the cool things that I like about it. Now, I've shown you a few things there. I want to show you in the last, 5 or 6 minutes we got left here. I want to show you a couple more things. One is maybe just one more thing for the moment, because I got a couple more things I want to talk about. But down here we see something called the new notifications. This is your notification icon down here in the far right. You see my cursor? In the far right. If I click that, you notice this screen, very handy screen. This is the new version of the Action Center. What I want to show you in here is if I had a Surface tablet, this one happens to be an Acer Ultrabook, but if I had my Surface tablet right now, when I detach the magnetic keyboard, it would look like my tablet would become a tablet screen. Do you see that? So now it comes into a normal, what looks like the old Windows 8 screen, but again, the scrolling goes up and down the way it should. All right? Because it's a tablet. Now, if I orient that portrait, then it would scroll up and down portrait. So this is beautiful. They've given so much thought to this and said, if you don't have a keyboard, you're obviously got a tablet. All right, this goes with Bluetooth keyboards when you turn them off or remove them, and it goes for your magnetic keyboards, of course, in Surface. But that's, I simulated it here by just saying go to tablet mode. Now I click it out of tablet mode, and my menu goes back to a normal desktop menu. This is probably the biggest feature that people have been looking for. Windows 8 drove people crazy on a desktop. It wasn't made for a desktop. It was made for touch screens, big tiles, move them around with your fingers. All right, so that's a big thing to move to that kind of feature, and it's automatic. Pull your keyboard away, boom. All right, so the last couple things I'll say as I feel myself running out of time here. The Surface Hub, as I mentioned, now this isn't it behind here. This is her presentation screen at Microsoft. But this is an 84-inch 4K display, Wi-Fi, multi-touch, interactive whiteboard kind of machine. Here they're showing it I'm showing it here, designed for the modern office and the modern classroom. Beautiful. I'd love to have one of those things. And that's running Windows 10 too. So again, synchronization. Here they happen to be running Skype in an interactive session. All right, so 2 last things to talk about, and then I'm done. All right, just so you know, I wanted to keep it short and sweet and lots of information in one place. Server usually comes out the same time as Workstation. I mentioned that isn't the case here. This year they released Windows 10 July 29th. They don't release Server until the spring. All right, and so in the spring we'll see the Server version of Windows 10. And Server 2016, they've actually married the 2 teams that really matter, the Server team and the System Center team. That's a System Center suite of products, 8 products that work to monitor your network in your enterprise environment. It makes sense that these 2 teams be together. The Workstation can be released anytime, and people can connect it to their own servers and different servers. It doesn't have to have a Server 2016. So it makes sense. This is a really good strategic move that Microsoft has made. And same with the Azure team, which is virtual machines in the cloud. They've also having them work closely with the server team to make it a seamless product. So some of you in this crowd that are watching today are IT, and they want to know a bit more about server that's coming. And you can look back at this later in the recording and see things like this palm-sized, really tiny, real core server for a change, real core server. And it can make use of a number of different platforms. 93% smaller VHD, 92% critical bulletins. Oh my gosh, this is exciting for those in IT. For the rest of us who just worry about Windows 10, who cares about that little palm-sized server? I know, but I wanted to make mention of that. Last point, and then we're done. So here's the Internet of Things, and this is IoT. Ever heard of such a thing? IoT, Internet of Things. Been around a long time. Different platforms can do this. Now Windows 10 can too. A very special version of Windows 10 called IoT Core. All right, Windows 10 IoT Core. That's what it is. Here's some examples later you can look at, but one of the coolest ones is this little robot here that looks like a mechanic set. This is running with Raspberry Pi, Windows IoT Core, and they're also using, in this next diagram, they're using the HoloLens. Have you heard about that VR lens from Microsoft? The Raspberry Pi, and you can see an example of what the video will look like when you go there. All right, it's going to be a holographic projected image on top of a real robot that moves around the room. Cool video, you gotta go see it. In the longer versions of this session, I actually show it. Here's the link right here. Just remember vimeo.com. Someone might want to type that into a chat window, 126-458-720. 126-458-720. I'm not going to click it right now because we don't have time to watch that video, but you got to go check it out. And it's driven by a Pi 2 circuit board. I have some of these. I've been playing with them. My background's electronics. I'm loving it. I'm having some fun with that. I don't have this beautiful HoloLens thing, but I do have some pretty cool stuff happening there. All right, so there we are in 30 minutes or less. I'd actually made it happen right exactly on 30 minutes, which is pretty cool. It doesn't always happen that way. But if you have any questions, I'm going to listen in and reply, and I'm also going to watch the chat screen once I move this out of the way, all right, because I don't have a chat screen in my face right now. And I'll take any questions that you have, and some of them, if they're deeper or they're IT deeper, then I'll certainly get you more answers later. So certainly ask the questions now, and we'll see how it goes. The rest of you, thanks for tuning in. It's been a real pleasure, and we'll see you in the classroom, live or virtual. Take care, everybody.